Alrighty, how's it going, everybody? I want to make another video. I'm still making my six-part series video. What I'm doing is just I'm um, getting some streaming because the next couple of videos I'm gonna have to use the like OBS Studio and so forth to do the next couple of videos. But well, on the mixing video and so forth, I'm gonna have to use that. But what I wanted to say was that in between making videos, I came across another video which motivated me to make this video. So for those that are new and just now tuning in, I call myself, that is my name. My name is Mark. I call the channel Mark's Music Place because music is what I do and it's in my place, right? So I couldn't really think of any other name, so I just kept it MMP, Mark's Music Place, right? Definitely, if you're new, hit the bell, subscribe, write some comments, put a thumbs up, all that good stuff. So, without that further, um, without further delay, all that being said, I'm gonna put some links in the description of some videos that you can watch. That's gonna help me validate one aspect of why I think you need one of these. And there are some people on my channel that are subscribed to the channel that actually have some form of one of these. Some of them actually have an Allen and Heath. Some have other consoles, Yamaha. Some people have Midas. Some people have digital consoles. But some people have quite a few have consoles. But for me, my workflow, what I like out of everything is I like an analog console. I like a lot of outboard gear. But you still got to go into the box using your interface and your software such as your DAW and maybe even a wide range of plugins. All of it can help make your music work well, other than just being strictly analog or strictly in the box. Hybrid gives you probably the most options for creating whatever the case. So, without being further delayed, like I said before, I made videos on pros and cons of owning a console. And, like the biggest pros and cons to me was like weight, a lot of cabling, use a lot of wiring cables. They can be heavy, they can take up a lot of room. But I think a lot of people that worked on consoles, that like consoles, will say out of all the cons, the pros of owning a console always will outweigh the cons. The pros will always outweigh the cons. And I have to 100% agree. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, it's bulky, it can be big, but once you get it settled in the room, it's not moving. So once you get it set up, the hard part about anything when you're setting stuff up in your studio is just getting it set up. Once you get set up, most of the time you're just not going to be mobile. And there's a lot of people that do home studios that don't have a recording console. They might have just a regular desk, and they might absolutely love that workflow. But you can ask yourself, even the people that might have a studio desk and they have just their controller, maybe a few pieces of outboard gear on each side, a monitor and studio monitor, whatever, that still doesn't move. So I don't see a whole lot of people just moving around. I thought I put this on. Okay, so anyhow, so what I want to make this, I didn't want to make this a very long video, but there are links. I hope that you click on the links and watch the videos, and hope it'll help you motivate you buy one of these. I can't stress from my experience, I can't stress enough on how much the sound of running stuff through your console, I can't stress how much it just, and I tell people all the time, I've tried it. I've tried the interface, just using the interface and monitors and the interface and maybe the controller and mouse and the DAW and plugins. I've tried it that way. Just on a few occasions. I've tried it that way. I just don't like the sound of it. It just doesn't work for me. And there are going to be, like I said, this video is going to be controversial. And there are going to be a lot of my subscribers that are going to be like, they're probably going to be like, and I get it, I got great loyal subscribers. But they're going to be someone that's just, they're like, I don't know why you have to have a console. I don't have one that works. There are people that'll come to my channel, that watch the channel, and they absolutely, totally get why I'm defending the console. And here's the thing that baffles me, and I'll leave it alone on this. There are people that are willing to give up a console, not realizing if you really take one channel of this console, just one channel, if I just take this one channel and I was to put it in the rack, right? One channel is basically a preamp channel strip, like I have over here. That's what that is. The only difference is some channel strips have compressors in them, and some preamps are just a preamp with EQ. Well, these are just a preamp with EQs. The only other part of the channel strip are just signal output routings, like auxiliaries, and be able bus assignments to output the signals to different other parts of the console. So you can send it through the auxiliaries or the bus channels to send it to different parts of the outputs of the console. Other than that, this part of the console, I don't know if the camera view, let me put it over here. This part of the console, that's the preamp section and the EQ section. And then, of course, it's hardwired to come out. But other than that, that's a preamp channel strip. It's just 48 of them. And if you think about it, it's like you would never hear the argument of, if I'm going to record vocals or instruments, I've never seen anyone that don't have external preamps. Some people are just using the preamp in their interface, which is perfectly fine. But most of us that do this, especially if you're like in my situation where you're trying to get it to sound as competitive to a commercial studio sound as possible, understand why you want external preamps. And there are people that are going to argue that, oh, my preamp in my Universal Audio Apollo or my M Audio or my Audience sounds great. And I would tell anyone that it's no different than beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, sound and what you like is in the beholder of your ears. It's the same thing, right? Everyone has an idea of what sounds good to them. And there are other people that decide that, there are some people who say, well, overall, ubiquitously or universally, most of us have gotten adapted to the sound of what comes out of commercial studios because they were the staple to what we hear or heard in recorded music. It's commercial studios. So the ideal is to try to get your stuff competitive to that level as much as possible. And my personal opinion is that just the interface and just the plugins and the DAW, it just isn't enough for me. I've said it time and time again. When I do these little demonstrations of little bits of these songs that I put on my YouTube channel for people to hear, and they went, wow, it sounds... There's reasons why it sounds the way it is. It's the reason why I'm doing a series now on why it sounds like it sounds. And one of the biggest is this. You can agree or maybe you don't have to agree. But it's one of these. And I'm glad they're... And so, to come to the end of the video, there are people that they're starting to see more. They're starting to see some people realizing that people in the recording business that didn't have their setups. They were setups without a console, and they're starting to say, you know what? I need a console. I'm going to get a console. They know. They realize these people never had to even make the choice to even get a console, but deep in their mind, I think they know. It's kind of like, well, and if you go back to all the commercial studios that are still running today, and I'm talking about your big ones, the ones that still have Neve consoles and SSLs and Audience, and there's a lot of commercial studios and big studios that still, Blackbird, quite a few studios in Nashville, and quite a few studios, Electric Lady in New York, and Hit Factory in Florida, and just quite a few of the LA recording studios. They all have recording consoles. There are a lot of people that even have commercial studios. There are quite a few recording studios. And on top of that, there are a lot of people that sit there and they'll say, well, they'll make the argument, well, Andrew Shep mixes in the box. And I'm like, he mixes. He never say he records in the box, or he never say masters in the box. He said he mixes in the box. Mix means you're mixing something after it's been recorded, and he's being sent tracks that most of them have been recorded in some sort of fashion, some way through some analog circuit somewhere. Not everything. Now, to defend the in the box portion, now, if your music is strictly VST instruments, VST drums, samples, and things like that, and the only thing that you're recording is maybe vocals, then 90% of the time you can probably just simply use controller, maybe some sort of MPC or whatever, software, and you can get away with just using the preamp in your interface. And there are people that record that way. But when you're trying to get into a point where there's other different genres of music that you want to do, maybe you want to do rock bands or hip-hop bands or whatever, even if you just want to mix or whatever, there are a lot of people out there that still want to mix on a console. And it's like, well, Andrew Shep mixes in the box. Well, Crystal Algae doesn't mix in the box. Both of them have high Grammy Award accreditations, but Crystal Algae's record is ridiculously long, and he still mixes on an SSL. And his mentor, Bob Clearmountain, still mixes on a console. Sylvia Massey still has a Neve console. So my point is, and if you look at some of these studios now, there's some people say, well, Dave Pensado mixes in the box. Like I said before, when people start throwing these arguments of whether it's Andrew Sheps or Dave Pensado, yeah, I can mix in the box, but I need to record something first to mix it. Now, once again, and this is not for me to sit there, for a lot of my subscribers that don't have a console, maybe don't even plan on having a console, and they like the way their workflow is. They like their workflow. I am perfectly, once again, all for that if it definitely works for you. What I'm saying is, I know for what I do and sonically what I'm listening for, I prefer how y'all see my studio set up. The only thing I don't prefer is the space. And I think part of the problem is I got too much, like this computer desk that I'm sitting at right now. It's an office computer desk. And my stereo rack and all that, I'm eventually going to have to move it out. Once I move these two pieces of furniture out, and maybe even that chest over there, my room in here would actually open up big time, believe it or not. And I can actually And another thing that I want to do is I really want to build a nice wooden desk for this console to sit in, an actual desk. And I would really like, the panels. There's things I want to redo in this room to really, and I think I'm going to do that this year. I'm almost positive I really want to do that this year. So, with that being said, to end the video, I only pasting these videos because I think that just these videos are going to help validate why I think, in my personal opinion, you should strive to get a console. I think maybe I would even say, out of the people that are subscribed to my channel, I would say 80% are going, once you've worked in this workflow where you're sitting at a console, I can sit here and I can mix, and I can do everything I want to do. I can sit here, and I can patch in. I can, come over here to some of this outboard gear over here, and I can just. I like that workflow. I honestly do. I love the way I can sit at this console, plug in the gear, and listen to the speakers more than just sitting at a mouse all the time. I'm only sitting here at the computers when I need to edit or I need to make changes. But other than that, I'd rather sit here and listen to, and I can physically change an EQ. I can physically do that. Or I can plug in or patch in. I like that. Now, everyone's going to be like, no, I'm happy with the plugins. This is not to say that if that is working, I say go for it. So to end the video, this is my reasonings why I think if you worked on a console or get a chance to work on a console and use the outboard gear and so forth that way, I think you will say, okay, yeah, I hear it. You're like, yeah, I don't think I would want to go back the other way, especially when you can physically move real faders instead of actually trying to depend on a controller, fader port controller, or just a MIDI DAW controller. I think once you're working on a real console with real signals in the channels, and you're looking at the real needles and looking at real, I think you would like, yeah, I think I like that better. That's just me. Some people may not. They might, no matter what I've said in this video, they might like, nah, I don't want to go that route. But, it's all choice. But I think if you went this route, I think you would like this route. And this, you have to, and like I said in the video, ask yourself, on all your biggest commercial studios out there, why aren't they giving up their analog consoles? And I think the number one reason is they know that it's the sound. It's exactly what it is. It's the sound. Other than that, thanks for watching. Y'all have a great one.